He is also beefed up a little bit already. They have him listed at 300 pounds.
Nice.
They have him listed on the Nebraska website now? Okay, cool. That's already a change from where he ended the season last year.
Yep.
That's big. A guy that we literally did an entire show on last year, I'm shocked that we have not brought up yet. The dude.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. We get better and better. Be the champion, be the Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
We're talking dark horses. We just got done doing our top 5 newcomers, top 5 returners, who we think are going to be the most important. This is going to be more of the guys that got left off the list or guys that maybe nobody's talking about that we think
Should be talked about
at least a little bit from a standpoint of they might very well end up being the most important person on the team this year. I know that you've put a ton of thought into this, and you had a couple guys that slipped your mind when we were putting our first 2 lists together that you were kind of like, damn, I wish I would have maybe moved some things around.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the guys that at least that I'm going to bring up, I don't know that I would have thought to actually put them on my list. I mean, other than one guy as a possibility. But the other ones, it's just kind of more of like, a lot of these positions are getting talked about with this player or that player. You know, maybe also talk about this guy that's coming back or coming in as a newcomer that could surprise some people. Either surprise some people as a newcomer or people are overlooking as a returner.
Matt, who you got?
Because he was always
fucking with you.
He went first on the other ones.
I'm just fucking with you. You went first on the last 2 shows we had to do. I'm actually going to throw one out there, and it's a quick shout out to our two good followers that have been putting just a boatload of comments on our last few episodes. Speaking of which, thank you so much to everybody who's liked and subscribed. Our channel is growing quick. We are officially at 750 subscriptions. We are hoping to be over 1,000 before the spring game. Please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Getting over that 1,000 mark changes the entire game for us on YouTube, and it allows us to start putting a little bit more into this show because we'll start getting a little bit of money out of it. So hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. Hit the like button. Share it even if you've got a social media presence.
I was gonna say. Not just subscribe to it, but tell your friend about it. To tell them to subscribe.
Stuff is growing. Stuff is moving. We love hearing from you guys. We had over 50 comments on our last episode, and this one I thought more than anything. I mean, Emma's dad. I think I'm saying this right.
Didn't we get this idea from one of the comments as far as doing a dark horse show?
Exactly.
Okay.
And specifically from this one, I'm going to throw these 2 out there because these 2 are, in my mind, they qualify as dark horses. When it comes to the wide receiver group, we have talked a ton about the 2 new guys that are coming in. We've talked a lot about Malachi Coleman, but Moonbot, 7613, he threw out his list and he had Jalen Lloyd at number 4. Didn't have any of the other wide receivers on there. And I was like, wow, Jalen Lloyd. And I really thought about it. And the biggest thing I think that really makes him a dark horse candidate in my mind is Dylan Raiola's cannon of an arm. And him just being blazing fast. Probably the, if not 1A, 1B top speed guy on our team.
Yep.
And you have a dude that can chuck the ball 70, 75 yards down the field, and there's not going to be a lot of guys that can keep up with him.
No.
So there's a very good chance that he could turn into that Trey Palmer type this year.
Well, and also a guy that's still learning the game because he only played like I think his last year in high school, 1 or 2 years in high school.
No, he did. No way.
He's still learning the game.
I didn't realize that.
Like that, he's very raw, which is kind of why the plan was to redshirt him last year. But then with injuries,
we had to bring him on.
It was what it was. So no, that's a very good. Good pick.
That one in right above him, he had Emmett Johnson listed at 3, and this is a bit of news that I think we all kind of overlooked and maybe even missed. I know myself, I missed it completely. Emma's dad pointed out this, and I think this is how he pronounced it. I'm not sure. EMUS dad. That's his handle on YouTube, and he has commented on like Emu's dad. There you go.
That's EMU. I mean,
there you go. I don't know. Either way, he's commented on a shit ton of stuff. Thank you again. He at least broke the news to me. I don't know how I missed this. Ramir Johnson and Gabe Ervin are not going to be back until sometime mid-fall camp.
Yeah.
They don't know when they're going to be back.
Yeah, they're definitely not back for spring.
So Moonbot throwing Emmett Johnson at 3 on his big returning, that's actually way bigger to me. Like he probably would have been on my top 5 had I realized this. That's another instant dark horse because yes, we're talking about, the kid that's transferred in from Oregon. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. It's great to be getting him, but Emmett Johnson was great for us last year, and as small as he is and as shiny as his teeth are, he was running between the tackles like a motherfucker. He was running between the tackles like a big dude. And if he can even just keep up the production he was giving us last year, he's a good back to have in that room, and in my opinion, a dark horse MVP style candidate.
I love Emmett Johnson and what he did for us last year. I think that if we have a healthy running back room, I don't know how much he'll get on the field, but if he does, I like the chances of him still continuing what he did last year.
I mean, the point though, when you think about kind of the same mentality of talking about Ty Robinson, is you look at if those dudes are coming off both of them major injury, both of them not going to be back until mid-fall camp, mm-hmm. It's going to take them until week 5, 6, 7 to really be in full game shape. Emmett Johnson's going to get play.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's probably going to be 1 or 2 on the depth chart to be at least the first half of the season.
That's why I said if that running back room is healthy,
yeah.
I don't know how much he'll get on the field. If he gets the opportunity, I don't see why he wouldn't have the same output that he did last year, and that's very good, especially with the experience.
I think we're expecting our offensive line to be a little better.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Those are the 2 dudes I was going to bring up specifically from those guys that were throwing those comments out there, because that comment specifically was kind of what made me think about this idea for this show.
Mm-hmm.
The top 5s of who we think are going to be the most important, those are the ones everybody's talking about. We want to shed some light on some other dudes, so do either one of you have another one you want to throw out right now? Because we're kind of like, we want to formulate a list. We're gonna give you our top 3 at the end here.
One of my big ones is going to be Justin Evans Jenkins, one of the guards. It's kind of one of those, do you really put a starter on a dark horse list when he's going to, but everybody's talking about the return of Ben Scott and the impact that's going to have on a true freshman quarterback.
Huge.
Everybody's talking about Mazuka with the experience that he has and the teams that he's coming from down in the SEC at Florida and then also at Baylor. Everybody's talking about Bryce Benhart coming back and building on the season that he had last year. And then they question, who's going to be the other tackle, whether it's Corcoran or Prohaska and what's going to happen there and whatever else. Nobody talks about that left guard spot with Justin Evans Jenkins. And what he did last year, he was one of the top 10 rated guards in pass blocking on Pro Football Focus just last year in the limited amount of time that he played last year. So,
and nobody talks about the fact that he was playing center on the second team.
Yeah.
In all of his practicing. So he wasn't even practicing at guard.
His versatility to be able to play all, the 3 interior
clearly
offensive line.
Dude.
Yeah. I just think, going off of the guys that we don't talk about enough, I think Justin Evans Jenkins is right up there.
I'm with you on that. I can totally see it. I do think that whoever winds up being our left tackle, that's going to be another big one to watch. Mm-hmm. And if Prohaska can from the sounds of it, get his head right and his body's right, and he's another one that he's now going through a full off season without any injuries to rehab from. If that dude, like that would be the guy that I would probably put as my other dark horse on the offensive line. I just don't want to see another Turner Corcoran entire season in tackle. He just wasn't good. He didn't look comfortable at tackle, even though he was recruited as a tackle.
You're right, but Benhart wasn't good for a long time, and then all of a sudden he was. So,
true.
I mean, who knows?
Okay, so left tackle spot, dark horse.
Yeah.
whoever it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Could be either one of them.
Or potentially not.
Yeah. Maybe they're like mildly dim horses. Who knows?
What's the opposite of a dark horse? Somebody that you're worried about not being...
The light shine.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Nobody wants the spotlight there.
Yeah.
Got anybody, Matt?
To look at the other side of the ball, and I know that we talk about him quite a bit because I like to say his name, but Prince Will. I think he's
You can't call him a dark horse, man.
Was he on any of our top 5 lists?
Yeah, he was on mine.
I think he was on one of ours.
Well,
He was on mine. He was number 4 on my list.
I couldn't keep track of BJ's lists anyway because he
That's
kept
true.
going ahead of us.
Yeah, that's
fair.
true. That's true. That's true.
That's fair.
Either way, I think that he's going to have a monster season this year.
I can't argue with that.
Do you have another one, Jed, to throw out there?
I've got 2 other guys that I've got a list of like 5 guys, but
Throw them all out, man. We're formulating our list
Yeah.
as we go right now.
one guy I like as far as a newcomer is wide receiver Quinn Clark. One of the biggest reasons why I like him, the only downside is that he doesn't come in until the summer, so he's going to be behind the 8 ball as far as the learning curve. But just the flat out his size, he's the tallest wide receiver on the roster at 6'5", and he's weighing in currently at 205, which is the second heaviest wide receiver that we have behind Isaiah Nair at 215. So he's right there as far as size-wise, even with the most experienced guys that we have on the roster. And the way we are trying to build our guys, specifically wide receiver, you continue to bring it up all the time as far as the size matching what a lot of the teams across the Big Ten want to do, specifically Ohio State, with these big-bodied wide receivers, not necessarily just height-wise, but just body
They're big
size-wise.
dudes, period.
Yeah.
A lot of them are the same size as, like, you look at Kyle Pitts, who came out of Florida as the number 1 tight end that we've seen go, like, the highest in the draft in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
He was built more like a wide receiver, but he's like that Darren Waller, like, 6'6" size.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, Malachi Coleman's not a stretch from that.
No.
And so when you put 4 of those dudes on the field, that's fucking terrifying.
Yep.
And that's what Ohio State's been doing.
Yeah. I really, the Quinn Clark thing for as far as a dark horse might be more of a long-term thing than for this season thing.
Sure.
But I just really like the potential of a Quinn Clark. I'm going to say this guy's a dark horse, even though he's, we've talked about him for now 2 years, but he's only got 6 catches for 127 yards and 1 touchdown. In one of those games, he had 120 of those 127 yards. Isaiah Garcia. Exactly.
He's been ringing the IGC bell since he got here.
I have been. 2 years ago, I picked him to have the most receiving yards, and I felt really comfortable after game 1, and then not.
Hey, he put up like 120 in that first game.
Literally,
Northwestern lost, right?
Yeah. But
onside kicks.
with bringing in 2 experienced wide receivers, having Jalen Lloyd, like we brought up earlier, Malachi Coleman, having another guy like IGC in there that isn't getting talked about enough as far as returning from his injury again. Hopefully he can finally stay healthy for an entire season and or stay on the team for an entire season.
There's going to be no pressure on him.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big difference, I think, is 2 years ago he was coming in and he was supposed to be the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And last year he was coming back and he was supposed to be a big thing that instantly injured.
Yeah.
And this year it's like, we got dudes. Like, we don't need you. If you can get on the field because you're working your ass off and you're showing that you're this good in practice, that's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to help, raise the rest of the ships around you. But that's a great one to put out there. And if I had thought about it ahead of time, I probably would have realized that that's somebody you were going to go with.
Because I love bringing him up anyway.
No, but it makes sense because didn't he come out of San Jose State?
Mexico State. Yeah.
And he was wildly productive.
Yes,
there.
he was.
He was expected to be our leading receiver 2 years ago.
Yep.
And that's a good one in my book.
I also got Riley Van Poppel on the defensive line. He's probably going to be the number 3 or number 4 as far as when Hutmaker and or Robinson come off the field. He played quite a bit as a true freshman last year. And to be able to build off of what he did last year, he played in all but the first game against Minnesota last year. So he at least played quite a bit. I like his potential to feed off of what Nash and Ty Robinson do this year, because even when one of them goes off the field, he's going to be next to the other one, and he's going to be able to eat off of that. Also, Jeremiah Charles, I kind of feel like I have to just bring him up because Matt Rule finds a way to bring him up in every aspect that he ever talks about.
Yeah.
Moving him from wide receiver to defensive back, and he loves the potential of him at defensive back. And if you watched him in the dunk contest, his athletic ability,
he's a freak.
My God.
Why do you think Coop said we had to go get him?
Exactly. And then my other one would be Deshaun Singleton, a guy that unfortunately we kind of forgot that was returning after his injury from last year and was playing so well. We need him at the safety spot. Again, he's
another big-bodied DB.
He kind of gets lost in the sauce, again, with, that he only played about half the season last year. Kind of like an IGC type where we knew he was coming back, but we forgot that he was coming back, and he's a high-quality player that more people should probably be talking about that he's returning.
Well, and when you look at, he's a junior this year, he's the biggest DB that we have listed on the roster. So when we start talking about those guys that they're bringing in and they specifically are targeting size at that position, he's going to be playing giant roles when we play Ohio State. He's going to be playing giant roles when we play USC. Those are going to be big things for us. Another guy in the DB's room that I think is somebody that we probably just kind of forgot about because he was injured most of last year and only came back for the last 4 games and really didn't see a ton of playing time because there had already been so many other guys establish themselves in that rotation. But Marquise Buford.
Yeah.
And him being back, and if you recall 2 years ago, he was our leading DB.
Yep.
And so getting him back to full strength, and that was one of the things in the Chasing 3 episode that came out. You can already see the camaraderie that him and his brother have, and the way that other guys are already kind of feeding off of that together. It's very cool to see.
Yeah.
He's going to be huge, but he's an undersized guy back there when you look at what they're doing with the rest of them.
Yep.
So it might be still a little bit of a struggle for him to get back to full starter style minutes.
One of the things when I was looking at all these players to try to come up with this list of dark horse guys, the secondary is one of those positions that I kind of thought was getting a little thin with the guys that we were losing and the experience that we do and or don't have. But then looking at some of these guys, whether it's a Buford or a Singleton and others, I'm very excited about this group. Like, I was less concerned about the depth of this room doing this exercise than I was going into it. Not that I thought they were going to be bad. It was just kind of, I was like a little on shaky ground going into this season as far as how they were going to transition away from having an Omar Brown and a Quentin Newsom and stuff like that. That I'm not going to say that I'm completely comfortable, but I'm a little more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm with you. Another guy that I was going to bring up on the D line, Elijah Judy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big time recruit that, similar to what we've talked about in the past about Hutmaker and Ty Robinson, that were big time recruits when they came out, that just haven't really realized their potential.
Yeah,
I realized he wasn't a big time recruit for us because he was a transfer in from Texas A&M, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
He didn't do much at all last year, and I realized he was just a redshirt freshman last year. And, it was a tough struggle to get on the field because of the production everybody else was getting out there. But from what I understand, they wanted to beef him up a little bit more this year because I think last year was weighing in only at like 280. He was kind of almost a tweener between those guys, the Prince Wills on the outside that are more of that like 260, 255, 265 range that are speed and finesse guys. He was kind of caught in between the size that they want him to be for a D tackle and to be on the outside. And so...
Well, and again, he's a lot like a Riley Van Poppel type, where when he does come in to spell Robinson or Hutmaker, he's going to be next to the other one.
Yep.
A lot. He's not necessarily going to be just next to Riley Van Poppel on the second string and stuff like that.
In fact, I would say he almost never will be.
Yeah.
And he gets some of that rep, but also he's not going to be much of a liability.
No.
Because he's still got a ton of talent.
Absolutely.
He is also beefed up a little bit already. They have him listed at 300 pounds.
Nice.
They have him listed on the Nebraska website now?
3.
Okay, cool. That's already a change from where he ended the season last year.
Yep.
That's big. A guy that we literally did an entire show on last year, I'm shocked that we have not brought up. The dude, MJ Sherman. How the fuck have we not talked about him?
Well, I mean,
He's kind of disappointing last year.
Yeah.
It wasn't disappointing.
Okay, but he
played well when he was on the field. He just wasn't on the field that much.
You're not. It's a little harsh.
Disappointing compared for someone who we did an entire episode on.
It's a little harsh saying that, but it's also not inaccurate. Yeah. So yes,
For all of the hype that we had around him, he didn't live up to the giant mantle that we built for him.
Well, so the reason why I didn't have him on my list of guys doesn't mean that I don't think that he can be a key player for this team this year, but he's going against Jamari Butler, Cam Lenhard, Prince Will. Like, you had all of these guys, younger guys than him, that played as well. And, like, those are the guys that we're focusing on. And I know that kind of goes along with the dark horse thing as to why you would bring him up. I get it.
Yeah, that's part of why I brought him up.
Yeah.
It's him and Chief Borders are the two guys that, Chief Borders was a single-digit black shirt to start the season last year. And he faded fast in the season, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was an effort thing. You wouldn't think it because he got a single digit last year. As a transfer in, he got a single digit.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, are you sure?
I'm almost 95% positive.
Did he legitimately fade, or was it just there was so many good things happening on the defense that he just didn't get talked about that much? Because that's another spot where I'd say he wasn't a liability.
Well, he was I know for a fact he was a week 1 black shirt. He was in that lineup picture with the first set of black shirts that got put out. So he was a starter on the defense. And I don't think he was starting by week 3 or 4.
Chief Borders did not have a single digit.
No?
No.
Okay. Regardless, I know he was a black shirt to start the season, and I felt like, they talk a lot about how he's very business-minded, he's very social media apt. The guy is constantly out in the community trying to do all kinds of crazy fun, social events and things like that. But at the same time, I wonder, is it too much? Is that maybe why he fell off a little bit? Is it an effort on the field thing? I don't know. I just felt like we never heard anything about him last year and why he was losing time.
We didn't. I mean, it kind of might just go along with what we've been saying as far as whether it's the Grant Bricks that we've talked about or possibly a Quinn Clark, where other guys just forced their way onto the field. And he did not.
He got 9 total tackles.
He didn't do enough. Like,
as a week 1 black shirt starter, he got 9 total tackles to finish the season. That's fucking crazy. I don't know. That's kind of my dark horse list. Matt, do you have anybody else to add on there?
No, my 2 biggest guys outside of Prince Will, obviously, since you guys didn't like that one. Jalen Lloyd was my number 1 guy that I was looking at, so he's definitely going to be. He better be on our top 3 when we finish up. And then Elijah Judy was on here too.
That's fair.
But Jalen Lloyd, I think that's a great one.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, that one's fantastic.
Yeah, of the wide receivers that were brought up between Quinn Clark and Jalen Lloyd, I like, as far as for the 2024 season, I like Lloyd better because I think he's going to produce more than Quinn Clark is.
He's going to be day one on the field.
Like I said, I brought up Quinn Clark as more of a long-term dark horse than this year. But
we saw some flashes last year from Jalen Lloyd of what he can be.
Yep.
So I think with a quarterback who can actually throw a ball this year, we could see a very different wide receiver room.
As far as our definitive, I don't know if we're going to rank our top 3, but just have 3 guys. I have no problem having Jalen Lloyd on that 3.
So how do we rank them out? I mean, if I'm looking at what we talked about, I think that I probably would have to have Jalen Lloyd on there. I almost definitely have to have Emmett Johnson on there just because of the injury situation.
I really like having Justin Evans-Jenkins on there because we need the offensive line as a whole unit to be able to have Emmett Johnson do what he wants to do.
Fucking facts.
And with this offensive, or with the true freshman quarterback. But at the same time now, if we're going to have Emmett Johnson, I think one of our 3 has to be on defense.
Who do we wind up with? We talked about so many people back there.
I mean, Deshaun Singleton.
Probably Singleton.
That's where I was going to go.
Jeremiah Charles, Riley Van Poppel, Elijah Judy.
Singleton, before he got injured, was already tracking to be one of the best players on defense.
I think Singleton's almost got to be it, even though we wound up talking about him more as a potential top 5 returner. But yeah, you're probably right.
And I think that enough people. I know one of the people on our comments, he was just going on and on about Deshaun Singleton and how great he was. And you're right. Some people might look at this and be like, how is a guy of that caliber that started last year a dark horse? he's not being brought up enough.
He's a dark horse because of the fact that we simply...
Not enough people are talking about him.
Well, not enough people are talking about him, but he's a dark horse because we have so many other people coming back, especially on defense. When you look at our defense, it's so stacked from top to bottom at every position. The only thing we're missing at is the linebacker group that I think we addressed that in the portal, and that was our one of our top 5 newcomers.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. What do you guys got? Drop it in the comments. Let us know what you think.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.